All right, good day, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. So today, yes, I'm sorry for the loyal listeners. We have, yes, another new talent coming on, another new person for you to get to know, another, I would like to say, powerful, healthy influencer. Thanks to the background that turns out I already had a little bit of knowledge about before we got introduced. So I'm excited about that because this guy definitely could outswim me in a heartbeat. You might hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But this gentleman, he's a multi-author. He knows a lot about health and wellness, and a buzzword that became pretty viral to me a few years back, the biohacking world, which I've had all kinds of people like Dr. Jack Cruz who corrected me and says, oh, biohacking, that's entry level. You got to become a mitohacker. You got to hike your mitochondria. And I'm like, okay, doc, teach me. But this guy has been a world-class coach. He's a therapist. He's an entrepreneur. Many businesses and activities out there for this gentleman. So without further ado, Mike, aka Dr. Mike Van Thielen, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
So the biohacking thing, let's just go ahead and have fun with that.
Yeah.
You've been at this a while. So do you have fun with that like I do now, where I just go like air quotes with it because people have tossed that term around so much, I don't even know where to go with it anymore.
Well, yeah, you got to make your own definition. I guess it has so many different, it's an amorphous term, so many different applications, some of them even negative, because biohack is kind of taking a shortcut, and it's something that we can't do in health anyways, take shortcuts. But my definition is basically objectively reversing your biological age. From a health point of view, upgrading your body, your mind, and your life. That's biohacking, is upgrading. And we can do that objectively because we can measure, we can do parameters before, we can implement strategies and technologies and see if we are, reversing that biological age, increasing our health span and our lifespan. So that to me is biohacking. As you know, there's 3 levels of biohacking. Biomodulation is basically doing something that has a positive biological or physiological impact, like a sauna or a healthy meal or a high quality supplement, right? Then there's bio-enhancement, which is more of an external thing that we do that may have a more long-term impact. Good examples are bioidentical hormones or stem cells, because as we age, our quantity and quality of hormones, but also of stem cells, drastically declines. And so by replacing those, we are actually going beyond our genetic programming. So that's biomodulation.
Let's pause on that real quick. Are you referencing the shortening of the telomeres, which is part of the aging process?
Yes. Okay. That would be one of the objective ways to measure it, right? Whether something's effective or not, from that point of view. And then the third phase is biotransformation, which that's where the scary part is, where we merge biology with technology. And of course, we have already been doing it for a long time. For example, pacemakers are bionic limbs, which now operate with much more greater efficiency than our biological limbs. But we're talking about implanting computer chips and becoming the Terminators, the cyborgs, right? And maybe that sounds good to some people, but we also got to be very conscious as humans that they may be abused, and we got to be very careful that we are not getting into that without being conscious about the fact that it may be another technique to control us and get rid of that humanity and sovereignty that we're experiencing right now. So there's a little bit of that negativity around that term too when we're looking at that merging of biology with the technology.
I like where we've already kind of kicked off today, because for years, I always looked at, quote, biohacking or I like to call it the investigative research that each of us should be personally accountable for taking into living a better life, right? Maximizing the life we have, to your point, maybe reversing, slowing down aging, etc. But like you said, right off from the get-go, and then just now, there's negative ramifications that could possibly happen depending on what topic we're hitting on. Like, for example, I already know that it's like, I've treated myself as an N1 experiment for years. And I think that's very common in the biohacking realm or the mitohacking realm, is that sooner or later, each of us are going to have to realize, well, I don't have enough evidence out there. I need to at least try it. Okay. And I think that's one of the best case studies ever to do that, especially when there's new things happening that if you've done enough research, okay, it's not like it's dangerous over the counter, but to your point, you can try something and maybe it doesn't work with your microbiology, right? It might work great for my wife, but doesn't work great for me. It might work good for my buddy I mountain bike with, but maybe not for me, and vice versa. So that's why I like to hit on real quick here, because like, what are some examples besides the technology combination? Because I truly believe, I'm a geek like that, where if we do enough time and investment into ourselves, we can pretty much heal almost anything. I truly believe in our amazing body and mind to
100%.
do
Yeah.
that. Like, don't give me a computer chip just yet. let's take some time. Let's slow down. That's what a lot of people don't want to do anymore, and figure things out. Like, what are some negative examples here that you've experienced in your profession and you've seen? Because I know you have a huge background from the physical therapy component aside.
Negative experience when it comes to what?
Well, like things you're seeing. What is a good example of a? Let me reword this. What is a good example of a like a negative side effect, so to speak, of going down that realm? Like, some people were afraid. I have friends to this day, like, I don't know, that biohacking thing. Just the word hacking. I don't know, man. I'm like, nah, dude. Like, they think we're just doing stuff because you're not following an MD's advice. I'm like, well, no offense. I don't need the MD's advice because their advice is actually
Well,
less than mine.
that's sick care. Plus, they don't know anything about health. They only know about drugs, so they don't know anything about health. They're not in the health business. They're not in the lifespan or
Nope.
health span business. So you're asking the wrong person, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
They only think about their liability, so they're never going to even recommend anything. Even if they do know vitamin C could help A, B, and C, they're not going to recommend that it's off-label. Although, again, if it's drugs, it's okay to be off-label. Like, all neuropathy drugs are actually seizure drugs, right? So then it's okay. In the big pharma world, everything's okay, but otherwise it's not. But, it's just the wrong person to ask about health or performance or lifespan, health span. It's not a person. You need to go to a functional medicine doctor or a life or health coach or a biohacker per se to guide you in the right direction, at least. And then I think, common sense is not that common anymore. But like you said, we are biohackers, so we live on that edge. Like, we have to try things. But those come with calculated risks, right? I mean, we can try, for example, nootropics or things to help us focus and be productive. But if we do that, obviously there is much research on things like L-tyrosine, phenylalanine, phosphatidylcholine. It's not something new. We can see what's risky and what's not risky. If we talk about frequencies or high frequencies or hyperbaric oxygen, it's not new. We know the applications, we know what's safe, we know what the parameters are, we know how much pressure we should have, we know those things. We're just going to use those for different applications and for improving our biology and physiology versus using it to remedy something, right?
Right.
So it's not always something that's unknown. It's using certain modalities, technologies, or compounds in a different application, right?
Yeah, I like where you're going with that, because, like, again, years ago when I started falling down that what do you call it, the black hole for some people, but I was like, well, I found it a very enlightening hole of research, and yes, I'll warn the listeners out there that if you become a health nut, it does become almost a quicksand effect. It's so exciting. You start figuring out that, yeah, do we know everything yet? No, there's always room to grow and learn more. But the amount of knowledge that's already been documented, that you've already had proven out, it's powerful. Like, I forget how many years ago I had a biologist on here, Dr. Anthony J. And he's like, oh, I do nutritional analysis testing and coaching. I'm like, okay, well, how do you do that? He goes, you ever hear of that website 23andMe? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, do one of their swab things, but don't pay for any of their advanced BS. He's like, all of that crap that they put on the website is all fluff. He goes, what you don't know is that even if you buy the entry-level swab test kit, and this is years ago now, he goes, you can log into your account and export the raw genetic data file. He's like, get me that, and then send me your blood work, and I will research both of those. And then he puts together a healthy analysis of, certain vitamins that my biology might need more of, right, that I could be lacking, as well as chemicals to avoid and things that are in the environment. Sure. And it was such a mind-blowing experience. And I had no idea. And he goes, oh yeah, this stuff's been around for a while. It's just getting it into the mainstream. And now, God, that's probably 5 years ago. So what I'm selling you right here, and what people, there's probably tons of platforms now supporting research like that, like testing you can do now, right?
Yeah, now it's even AI and epigenetic testing, right? So
Yeah.
we know we have genetics, but for the average person, genetics is an excuse to be overweight, is an excuse,
Hmm.
for being unhealthy. It's an excuse to say, "Oh, I'm gonna die of a heart disease anyway, so I might as well eat this pizza." But there's the science of epigenetics that shows clearly, without any doubt, that we have the power through lifestyle modifications to
Yes.
change those genes and expressions to up and down regulate, and therefore now that becomes our genetic expression for the next 7 generations, unless they modify it, right? So really there's no excuses to do any of that, and we can all measure that for sure. So
Well, I'm loving this. This is why I was going to have some fun with you today, because what you just said already goes back to what I said earlier about being personally accountable, right, for this research into myself. Says I have friends of mine, I've newer friends over the years I've met, like, oh man, dude, yeah, look at you, man, you must have great genetics. And I can't stand that line. You're laughing already. I was like, really? Like, oh yeah, man, like, is your whole family athletes? I'm like, absolutely not. I was like, we all grew up on the same farm. Nobody today. I just had a birthday, by the way. You and I are recording this. My birthday was last week. I just turned 46. I have friends of mine like, dude, you're 46. I was like, and they said,
I'm 52, my man.
right. So you and I are, 6 years apart, and people look at me and they're like, yeah, but dude, the stuff that I see you do, like on Instagram, like I skydive, I race mountain bikes. I have woods here at my house here. I'm up here building a hiking and mountain biking trail every weekend.
Awesome.
Like, dude, I'm outdoors like crazy when I'm not on this technology. And people are like, yeah, with the whole genetic thing. I'm like, yeah, dude, if you saw my family today, and I love them, they don't listen to the show. I'm not picking on them. They are all overweight. They all have issues. My younger brother, my older sister, my mother, my father, I love them to the end of time, but they've never listened to a word I've had to say. People that are closest to you don't listen to you. And I'm like, guys,
Come from a third party
yeah.
when they're ready.
Yeah, like I was like, my dad's type 2 diabetic. My mom is walking around with a walker and she's still in her early 70s. My sister has like dual personality depression. My brother is just overweight. I love them. And then everybody's full of excuses. Oh, well, I travel a lot for business or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, guys, I do all of that. The difference is I've taken accountability for my health. So I'm changing my, the Mulvaney name, right? I'm changing the direction genetically of my family history, whereas the rest of my family is changing it too.
Yeah.
But in a negative way. Nobody in my family was overweight when we were growing up. Nobody had type 2 diabetes. Nobody had heart disease. Now, to date, nobody still does. But that's why I wanted to hit on that just now, because you said that, because you have a choice. Do you want to turn it down a positive path or a negative path? That's the scary part.
Yeah, no, it's right. I mean, nobody takes responsibility these days, right? And again, we can blame the big pharmaceutical drugs, we can blame the commercials, we can blame that our food is unhealthy. You can blame anybody you want, but ultimately it's your responsibility and the responsibility for your loved ones, especially if you're talking about kids and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so, even if you're not in the healthcare field, there's many people out there that can guide you in the right direction. Again, and it's not even just about health. If you want to not live longer, but if you want to produce or perform better, not just as an athlete, but as an artist, as a performer, as a salesperson, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, it does not matter. The healthier you are, the more you upgrade your body and your mind, the better your performance in any area. That's just common sense.
Well, is that some of the fuel in your fire? Because that's some of my branding, right? Like me, I just got so frustrated over the years that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to, one of the things, the reason why I created the whole brand, Live the Fuel, then I was like, oh, I'm going to start a podcast because I love podcasts because I travel so much on business as you hinted, sales pro, marketing pro. I'm a high level consultant. I work for myself. And I was like, great. I haven't changed any of that lifestyle. If anything, I probably have traveled more in the past 2 years since the whole, pandemic crap. I've been doubling down on business growth, helping my clients grow their businesses. I haven't actually slowed down. I've sped up. Yeah. But because part of the reason I've done that is that accountability, right? That taking it seriously. And I was like, some people look at me like I'm crazy. And I said, well, if crazy is taking full accountability for my health, not needing to go to the MD, and if and whenever we did go to an MD and I ordered a whole bunch of blood work,
Yeah.
it's perfect. I have no issues. I have no disease. When I go donate blood, they love me. The phlebotomists, they're like, "Oh my God, look at your veins. It's just so easy." And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "You must be a high level athlete." I'm like, "No, I just stay healthy, stay fit." It's, it becomes a phase in our life that's not rocket science. Like, why does everybody being led to believe that it is rocket science? Because I loved your hint here, right? Find a functional medicine doctor, even a chiropractic, or all of your background, people who have chosen to flip the coin and balance the education around Eastern and Western, right? Okay, there's plenty of Eastern, like, or vice versa. How do we balance it? How do we flip that coin? I mean, is that part of a lot of your career history, is just trying to help people realize, all the books you put out there too? It's like, dude, it's there's more to be had in life.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah. I mean, you're a freaking world record holder, for God's sakes. A quick background on that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll screen share real quick. One of his websites is well, this specifically is mvtonline.com. And I'm just going to screen share this now because I just love this image, because I suck at swimming. And so, world record holder. Now, when was that achieved, by the way?
That was just before COVID, 2019. So I was 48 years old.
Yeah.
And I actually swam faster than I was in my 20s. And I was a very good swimmer. I had national records when I was in my 20s. But
so over 20 years later, you're swimming faster.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, very, right?
So there's just one example. That's why I wanted to throw that up there real quick, because I don't like it when people feel that, they see somebody or hear somebody like, well, can they really talk the talk? Are they just talking the talk? Can they walk
That'll
the
be
walk?
the product of the product. Otherwise, you shouldn't talk.
Exactly. So fun thing for me, a few years ago now, I accidentally collapsed the lung. I had a spontaneous pneumothorax. Apparently, when you're a tall, lean dude, that's a higher risk thing.
Yeah.
I never knew. So next thing you know, I'm in the hospital, and they're trying to get the hole in the lung, the plug, and it wouldn't work. And I'm coming up, I'm like, this is right before my wedding. And we're supposed to do a heli skiing wedding in the Canadian Rockies, because my wife and I are adrenaline junkies. And she's like, well, you need to get this fixed.
Yeah.
And if I gave in, I allowed a surgery to fix the lung. I never found ever since. But what did I do? I went right back into my training, allowed the healing. And a few months later, I tried one of the hardest mountain bike races of my life. It's called the Wilderness 101. At the time, that was the 19th annual event here in Pennsylvania. It is 100 miles on a mountain bike with 10,000 feet of climbing.
Wow.
In a day. You got to do it in a day. So this is after collapsed lung, everything else. That was in January, February timeframe, and this race was in July, like the hottest, muggiest part of summer here in Pennsylvania. Probably similar to Florida. You get it.
Yeah.
And the heat index was off the charts. I made it to mile 67, the second to the last rest area before the biggest mountain climb of the event, and I called it. And I said, dude, ain't right. I've been watching people dropping like flies all day, like like trucks coming through, picking people up. Guys are passing out. They're ice packing people. I'm like, you know what, dude, this is already more miles I've done on a mountain bike in one day than ever in my life. I'm going to come back and do it again. COVID hits, can't do it. So that was the 20th anniversary. So COVID lifts, boom, they got the race back on. So not last year, but the year before, I completed it.
Yes.
100 miles. Now, was it a record-setting event? No, this is one of those races you're just happy to survive, Mike. It's like, I just want to get to the end. The pros, they're mutants. They did it in like 6.5 to 7 hours. I did it in 13. That's a lot of miles and a lot of time sweaty in a bike seat.
Yeah.
But I finished it. So I was mind over matter.
Mindset, for sure.
Right? So mindset's a big part of this too. If we flip that mind into biohacking, whatever you want to call it, our body falls in line. I mean, how do you help people understand that? There's so much power behind your mindset.
Well, it's usually what I start with immediately. In my latest book, I talk about the 7 foundations, because again, when people hear that word biohack, many times they think, oh, that's just for the elite, or I can't afford those technologies. No, you got to have foundations. When I have clients and they come in for health, there's 3 categories. I put them in. The first category, unfortunately, most people fall in, It's those that need to regain control of their health. So they're either in pain, they're overweight, or they're diagnosed with a disease. So we got to get them back to normal. I mean, step number one. Step number two, optimize their health. They need to feel strong and vital, and they need to be in control of their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And only then, step number three, category number three, is optimal health the foundation to maximize the benefits of biohacking. So first of all, there's no shortcuts, and we need to see where we are, because based on where we are, there's different strategies and different biohacks to get to the next level, right? That's number one. But there are foundations. And so the number one foundation is the mind that we immediately need to start working on, because the mind not only controls the physical body, but it also creates your future. It's the blueprint for your success or failure. It's your belief system. We need to eliminate false core beliefs. I work with stage 4 cancer patients, Parkinson's patients one-on-one. Wow. And so the worst thing that happens to those people is they're labeled. You got cancer, you got Parkinson's, you got MS. And so that label sits here, usually consciously and or unconsciously. But that label, if you believe that you have cancer, if you believe you're going to die of cancer, if you believe you're going to be debilitated by Parkinson's or MS, then actually eventually the doctor will be correct, right?
Yes.
So we really need to start working on that mindset, and we need to change it and eliminate those false beliefs that we are going to die of cancer. No, we're going to defeat cancer within 6 months, and we're going to see our grandkids grow up, and I'm going to be there for their wedding. And that's where the belief system comes in, working on visualization, manifestation, meditation, breath work, and even technologies like BrainTap that can facilitate us managing that brain, managing emotions and feeling, and working on that belief system. Because if there's a doubt in your mind that you're going to achieve your goals and dreams, or if there's a doubt in your mind that you are going to finish that 100-mile race, if there's a doubt, then the universe has two options, failure or success. If there's no doubt in your mind that you're going to overcome the cancer or finish that 100-mile race on your mountain bike or swim a world record, guess what? Then the universe only has one option. So mindset has to be part of this from the beginning in order to be successful, even when it comes to health and defeating any type of disease, even if it's cancer. That's why we start working on mindset immediately, besides the other 6 foundations, which are based on body. But the mind is key always.
I love it, because obviously for the video watchers, I was just sharing the author section of his site. And obviously the IZOD method, Unleash Your Superpower, is the newest book, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that, and you already have a lot about the IZOD method on the website, but that's part of this. Is even I realized this over the years, that I was just passionate about trying to just bring on guest co-hosts for years on the podcast, just that by itself, and say, you know what? I didn't see anybody really trying to balance those 3 key domains. And there's lots of domains in life to balance, because I actually dual majored in psychology, and I'm just a geek about that science because there's so much mental there. But, people are trying to balance their health / nutrition. People are trying to balance their love life / relationships. There's business, there's education, right? There's all of these variables. And then throughout life, you have this power curve, ups and downs, trying to balance all these domains. And the different psychological or psychology methods I studied, most of them narrowed down to 6 domains or 7 domains of focus. So granted, out of that, they said the average person cannot keep all 6 or all 7 peak performing. It's just impossible. You're going to have those times where, hey, you know what? I decided to go back to school and do another degree. Great. Education's now high performing. Something else has to fall to the wayside. The side effects of this is stress. But the biggest thing out of all of that stuff that I learned, which is what you're hitting on right now, was in years of podcasts, is, I'm targeting health, business, and lifestyle. But over the years, I realized, oh my God, how many great guest co-hosts like yourself bring up the importance of mindset. And I have my own case studies personally, like leaving the corporate world years ago and becoming a wildland firefighter out west. I did that. I wrote a book about that for charity. And it just changed my life forever. It changed my mindset. It was like, wait a minute, is this what my life is meant to be? No. Why don't we just take a risk and say, screw it, I'm out. Let's go do something else crazy. And I tell people in the book, I'm like, okay, you don't need to go fight wildfires with the federal government. Maybe that's a little crazy. That's just the kind of guy I am and how wired. But that superpower, I think it truly starts with that mindset, everything else, oh, okay, I have the mindset to fix my kitchen. Awesome. I have the positive mindset to fix my love life or my relationships. Awesome. I have the mindset to say, you know what? I don't want to work out today, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
The mindset. I mean, is that one of your really like the foundation of the IZOD, or what is your?
Well, IZOD stands for in the zone on demand, right? Because most of us have experienced being the zone, but most of us, it was by chance, like, oh my God, I won this race. I was in the zone, or I killed my presentation, or I crushed my sales goals. But most people think it's just for athletes. And I'm here to tell you, no, we all can learn that skill of turning that on and off and being in the zone. Being in the zone means there's no distraction. You anticipate faster, you're laser focused, and you only have the end in mind. And so it's a skill that we can learn, but there's several foundations we need to lay in order for somebody to be in the zone on demand. So the first one is purpose, right? We talk about that a lot, purpose in life. And I really started realizing that when I was helping a colleague doing over 100 calls a week to qualify or pre-qualify people from medical marijuana cards here in Florida. So I'm talking to people, anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, worry, fear, you name it. And yes, there's therapies and drugs and supplements even out there, but I really figured out pretty quickly there was an underlying cause, no purpose in life. So a lot of people are just going with the motions, going to their job, living day to day, living paycheck to paycheck, getting overwhelmed by their boss, going home, bringing the kids to soccer, dealing with the significant other, and they never catch up. And so if you put yourself in a situation where you don't know what tomorrow brings, next week brings, next month, next year, obviously I would be worried too. I would be fearful about what tomorrow brings, and that translates in those mental conditions, anxiety, depression, etc. So many times you can solve those things by, stopping and taking a moment and kind of revisit. And with my mentees, I do exercises to figure out what is your purpose, what brings fire in your stomach, what are you passionate about? And then, many times we figured it out pretty quick, usually within one session even. But then there comes the first rebuttal or obstacle. Well, Mike, that's great. We find my purpose, but I have responsibilities. I'm in this job. I got a family. I got bills to pay. So I can't do that. I said, well, you can, because all we have to do today is look what you're doing every day and free up 1 hour of time. Oh, I'm busy all day. Well, what do you do when you come home? Oh, you're watching Netflix. Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, unplug.
Or how many meetings did you have today? Oh, I had 2 meetings. How long are those meetings? Oh, they're always scheduled for an hour. Who cannot make a decision in 15 minutes? Tell me. All right. So we're freeing up 1 hour. And even if we can't free up any time, which I've never had to do, we just get up 1 hour earlier. But anyways, now we're going to work 1 hour on your purpose, something that you are passionate about. And then at a certain point in time, we can transition into that. But now we have fire and passion. Then the next thing is we need to retake control of our life, because most of us, life controls us. So we need to start scripting our life. We need to be in control of our agenda, of our calendar. We need to know what our dreams and goals are. And if they're 7 years away, we need to break them down all the way to year 1, months, weeks, and tomorrow. Do one small incremental step in that hour that we have tomorrow to be one step closer to your dreams. We need a plan. We need what I call a team of experts. Don't have to be experts or professionals, but people that you need to realize your dreams, to get to your highest potential. And those are people that are strong where you're weak, because never work on your weaknesses, continue to work on your strengths. And so now what we're doing is we're taking control, which creates clarity, and clarity omits all stress. When you're in control, there is no stress, there is no worry, there is no fear. That just all goes away. So purpose, and then taking control, having a plan, having the right, surrounding yourself with the right people, getting out of that comfort zone, those types of things. And then 3 is what? Biohacking, upgrading that body, that mind. And that's how we get into the zone. And ultimately, what I do with my clients is we create that scripted life becomes a set of power routines. Like I have a morning power routine, evening power routine, a dream routine, and a health routine, or a biohacking routine, right? So if I would give you my power routine, it probably wouldn't work for you, but it would be a template. So we are figuring out every individual's power routine that they can count on each and every time to get into the zone on demand. And so it's a small 3-step process, if you will, to turn your life
It's like
around.
something to help flip the switch, right?
Yes.
It's like when all the crap starts going crazy, it's like, well, let's flip that switch because now you know how to do it. That's what I'm hearing here. I'm like, okay, great. Oh my God, I'm getting overwhelmed. Wait a minute. What's that power routine? Let's flip that switch, dial it all back in.
That's right.
Bring
Something you
cortisol
can
down,
count
bring
on.
stress down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this because it's funny how you were saying surrounding yourself with the right people. I heard that in there. I heard focusing on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Best-selling book, Strengths Finder. I think the last one I picked up was Strengths Finder 2.0 for one of my clients. I bought it for all their team members because I said, guys, read this book. I was like, that's just one of many great books that have taught us you do not need to waste any more time on your weaknesses. You can continue to exercise those and try and play around with them. But people who just are trying to flip one of the weakest things in their life, like, well, clearly you have other strengths you bring to the table. Focus the energy on that.
Succeed in not being weak anymore, but they're never going to be the best at that. That's not their talent.
Yeah.
That's not
like, for example, you're a world record holder in swimming. Could you be a world record holder?
What you're good at. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that'd be like you said, great. You know what? I love water, but because I love skiing, like you'd be like, you know what? I really could barely ski, but I'm not going to become a world-class skier at 52. You could, but where's the passion, right? There's your purpose, everything else. I love your point on that too, because I had to learn that. I was chasing purpose forever. And I was making the same excuse, dude. You were ringing bells in my head. And I said, oh man, yep, been there, thought about that. I'm just listening to everything you're throwing at me. I'm like, yeah, been there, thought about that. Because it's true. We see people around us maybe succeeding faster. And again, what do you define? How you define success, right? It could be making more money. It could be getting a bigger house. It could be living where you've always wanted to live, whatever. So the point is that, well, stop focusing what everybody else is doing and focus on your own game plan, which is you've clearly hinted. It's like, what is going to help me get to where I want to be? Like I realized, you know what? I always did want to found a charity. Well, I didn't plan on it. I did it while I was writing my book in my free time. Because to your point, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. So how do you run a podcast when you're not like growing a sales and marketing profession, helping your clients grow their businesses? Oh, and you're running a podcast and you're writing a book and then you start a charity. Well, it's simple. I just turned the television off.
Exactly right.
Like, do you know how much time we waste? I mean, and then there's those new studies on Instagram and Facebook. Dude, social. I have a company that does marketing and we've done social media for clients, but I get in and I get out. Like, I don't need to be in there for hours.
It's just for purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Wasting time.
But like you're saying, helping people pause, just simply because that pause and just think like, is this that I'm doing day in and day out helping me reach my goals, find my purpose, feel better about life? I think the biggest thing I took out of everything you just threw at us was that's the first word that popped in my head. People are afraid to pause, slow down, or find somebody to help them like you pause, slow down, and then break it all apart. Find that game plan. What'd you call it again? The power, what?
Superpower, unleash your superpower.
Yeah, what's the equation, you know?
Yeah, I just like you, we're coaches. So when I work with people, I make them accountable every week. That's kind of most of the things are common sense, and I got them in the right direction, show them the pitfalls, make sure they got everything planned out, and we create that control and that clarity in their agenda and their calendar. I help them identify things that are wasteful. You know, what projects are you working on? Oh, A, B, C. Well, project C, why you're doing that? It doesn't seem to fit in your goals and dreams. Well, my friend, colleague, or my uncle or whatever asked me to help out. Well, you got to stop that. And next time say, no, I can't. I don't have time for that. There's so many things that we do for other people, which again, you know, it's part of being human is helping, but you need to put yourself first and see how things fit in your life and in your dreams. Because when you're successful, then you actually can start sharing your abundance. And I don't mean just money, because abundance has to do with kindness, gratitude, your presence, and all those types of things, and living for service, right? But you first got to get yourself into a position where you can help others. And in order for you to do that, you need to get rid of the things that are time wasters, not just watching TV, but maybe you're working at a job that's not contributing to your goals and dreams. Our projects are helping out people with their goals and dreams, but it's not going to benefit you. So or firing people. A lot of people don't like to fire people, and I just make them do it. Because many times you just have to do things in order to further yourself. And I educate a lot of people about the comfort zone and the growth zone and what to expect and get out of there. Even people that are already very successful, they don't many times realize that they got out of the comfort zone and ended up in a growth zone. But you need to realize that after a while, that new growth zone becomes what? Your current comfort zone. So once more, you need to exit that if you want to go from a millionaire to a billionaire, if you want to go from an NFL player to an MVP, if you want to go from just being shy of realizing your goals and dreams to actually realizing them. So those are always those small differences that make the big difference.
No, you've hit again. You're just firing, man. I love it. You're just hitting it. Like, ladies and gentlemen, Mike is killing it today because again, it's like, dude, I'm hearing God, so many quotes I've heard over the years. Everything or everyone you say yes to in life means you're saying no to something else. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. I'm guilty of that. I love helping people, but over the time, my biggest leaps of growth, professionally and personally, was realizing, well, you know what? I could help them, but I'm actually hurting myself and my future to help more people. So I got to say no this time. I can help them down the road. It's just not the right time. Mm-hmm. And I love your other angle that you talk about how, firing people. I used to work in corporate world. I managed people, led people. I was a business coach. It is the worst part of the job. No one wants to let go.
Well, it depends how you look at it. You do them a favor too, because obviously they're not in the right place.
And there it is.
Helping them, pushing them in the right direction, because they probably are not happy. If they were engaged and if they were happy where they were, they would be producing, but they're not producing. So again, it's how you look at it, right? You're doing them a favor. Nobody's willing to do them a favor. You do them a favor by sending them away and finding their purpose, because obviously they're not happy and productive here.
I said that to somebody one time and they were like, I mean, I know you've heard this before, like, oh, that just makes yourself feel better about why you did it. I was like, no, seriously. No. If you are a bottom level performer in whatever you're doing in life and you're just barely doing enough to get by, in the big picture of things, is that a life you want to keep living? No, let's level you up. Let's get you to the next level. Let's help you move on. You've been afraid to move on. Unfortunately, I got to help you move on. This is my own wife. She's an amazing, highly intelligent equine horse veterinary doctor and doctor of chiropractic for animals. But years ago, I remember there was a couple really annoying pain in the butt clients that they just they wouldn't pay on time, and then they wanted so much for nothing. And I said, baby, you guys are growing an amazing business, as an entrepreneur. I said, why don't you just fire them? And they looked at me like I was crazy. Yeah. And I said, listen, I know I'm just the husband to be, but I was like, every person you say yes to as a business is the same thing. You can't help other people that do want your time. They have horses or dogs that do need your care and your ability to heal them or care for them. Every jerk out there is taking advantage of you. Help them move on to a different practice. Yeah. And now you've cut the stress out of your life. You only have people in your portfolio of clients that are paying you and they value you and they don't mind paying you more when, the cost of goods and everything goes up. Look at the past couple of years, right? All the complainers can go away. And now they have a waiting list. They can't take on, they need another, like a doctor or two just to take on more clients. I was like, that's a great place to be.
Best. I mean,
yeah. I mean, wouldn't that people hearing that right now, if you're an entrepreneur, a business professional, a sales pro, how wonderful would it be that based on that law of attraction, if you have cleared that slate so well and opened up the universe to just draw in the right people to you that you could have a waiting list. It's like, great, I can only say yes to 10 clients right now, but as soon as they've maybe exhausted my abilities, I can help them move on and I can welcome somebody else into the fold. Or it's just a good place to be. It feels good.
Yeah, so, and I'm not saying you just got to fire people and not producing, because maybe it's the company's fault or the executive's fault. So I always do two things, right? They need to be educated properly, and there needs to be an objective measurement of their production, and they have to have a very clear job description and a head, and they need to get the appropriate training. If they fall short, then there's two options. They're not suitable for the position, or they're overwhelmed. So the question is, are they overwhelmed? Do they need help? Well, if I can do the job and they can't, they're not overwhelmed. So, there's obviously a process to it, but if they can't do the job or they're not engaged and not producing, they don't belong there, and you do them a favor, period.
I love that. And you are right. I mean, like I said, if I went back in time, I worked in the call center industry, very not right for everybody.
No.
And this was not like the spammers. This was just customer service. So we were the call centers. I was a coach for the T-Mobile Corporation. After two companies acquisitions, we became T-Mobile. But I had 30-person teams, and I gave people a lot of chances. And then as a company, we realized we actually did a whole analysis across 11 call centers around the country, figured out that, well, it's not just one problem. One was HR hiring the right people. Were they listening to the front line of the company and even attracting the right talent? Then we looked at the training. Okay, was the training truly setting them up for success? And then after that, okay, once they've made it into the live job, right? They got full benefits from day one. They're very well trained. Hopefully HR really did clear up the hiring process. Then do we have the right coaches out there leading them to where they want to go in the career path in the company, or do they truly want to be, answering phone calls?
Yeah.
All these variables come into play. That's true. It's not just the one individual's fault. It could be the system they're a part of.
Yes. So you got to make sure that's taken care of for sure.
Yeah. But again, I like to go back to the beginning of this episode, which is don't underestimate the power of your mindset and the health to take you through all of these things that you and I are talking about, especially careers. Oh my God. So many of my friends and colleagues over the years, like, oh, I don't know if I'm happy where I am anymore. I was like, well, how's everything else going? I was like, okay, well, let's say the job sucks right now, but like, okay, is everything else good? Is your stress management good? Is your fitness good? Is your health good? Because that's going to help bring some of those stress levels down. I mean, God, probably half of what you do, Mike, is helping people mitigate cortisol and stress, I'm guessing, right?
Well, yeah, if you do purpose and get control over your agenda calendar, that just all dissipates, right? Because it's about control and clarity.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that we easily can say yes to nowadays, to the point of overwhelming that calendar. I mean, just that one topic. I mean, I got probably 4 different calendars synced onto my phone, but I make sure each one does not overlap the other. But one's the charity calendar, one's the marketing calendar. It's all these things, but that just gives me structure. But even me, even though I have the tech, you were mentioning tech earlier, we can have the right tech in place, but we still have to manage it. We still have to make sure it does not control us. And we also still have to allow time. Like this morning, I put up a quick YouTube short because I was out in my pole barn. I have a little CrossFit gym out there, and I didn't do any gym workouts last week. When I had a free moment, I'm out like building my trail, cutting trees down, splitting firewood, outdoorsy stuff.
Work out to me.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, but it wasn't like physically in the gym. So I was like, all right, I'm in the gym this morning. I was out there by 7 a.m. getting it done. And I just put up there, I was like, I haven't used this tagline in a while. I was like, you know what, guys, it's a Monday. And I can't stand when people say, oh, Mondays. I say, you know what? Suck it up, buttercup. I haven't heard that quote in a long time. So I brought that back. And because it is a mindset thing. I mean, it's so easy.
It's one of those things too. If you're not living your purpose, then Monday becomes a burden, right? And Friday becomes the party night. And so, but there are indicators that you're not living your purpose. So one of the questions that I ask people to think about then the next morning, before they actually get out of bed, when they wake up, is I tell them, what is going through your mind? Are you thinking, I have to get up, I have to go to work, I have to do this, I have to do that? Or is it, I get to get up, I get to get to work, I get to work on this, I get to do that? And so if it's the first one, guess what? You're not living your purpose. Because if it's the last one, I get to go up, it doesn't matter if it's Sunday or Monday or Saturday or Wednesday. It doesn't matter, because you're excited, you're passionate, you want to get something done to bring you closer to your goals and dreams. And unfortunately, we don't see that very often, but that's an indicator. That's a very easy question to ask yourself, whether or not you're living your purpose. And most of us don't really know. They think, because when we're born, Scott, as you know, we're pushed in a certain direction by society. We got to go to school, we got to go to college, then we got to work for somebody till we're 65, and then there's the golden years which never come. Or our parents and teachers push us in a certain direction, meaning if dad's a lawyer, he probably wants you to go to law school. His mom's a doctor, they probably going to want you to go to med school. And now you're in your 40s, and maybe you're a very successful, recognized, I just say something, eye surgeon, and you're doing well and you're paying your bills and you're great at what you do, but it does not mean you're living your purpose or your passion, right? And so those silly questions in the morning or some other exercise I do will kind of reveal if they're living their passion or not. And so being successful or good at what you do not necessarily mean you're living your purpose or your passion either.
I love that. I was just screen sharing for the YouTube watchers again. Again, your IZOD method. That's, I think that's what a lot of people are looking for, Mike, is, and maybe it's not your method. I mean, again, you're not here to, I mean, maybe part of your purpose is to heal the world. Maybe you can correct me on that, but maybe your methodology or structure or format doesn't ring a bell for every single listener out there. But for those who do, it's like, oh my God, I get it. That makes sense to me. I can follow that, right? So that's what we're trying to help people figure out.
What I want to do is really, you know, help people before it's too late, because in the end, we only regret the chances that we didn't take, right? It's kind of to help them stop and look at purpose and make sure they are living the life they're supposed to live, which is a life of fulfillment. And if they're not, I'll help them transition, set the plan, set the goals, set the dreams, make them accountable, and upgrade that body, mind, and life, and work on that mindset belief system. So, and stick with them until they realize it, right? And so it's about comfort zone. It's about, you know, identify the people that you need around you, like we mentioned before, and all those things. And so I can really make that puzzle for them and make them accountable, so it happens, you know. And
well, that's the beauty of a great mentor, is you're going to slow down with them and really listen, and then help them kind of find their way through the process, make it work with their livelihood. Like we back at the beginning of the show, right? We talk about finding things that work with your biology. Well, same thing. Okay, you're just trying to help them say, hey, how's it going to work with your choices, your purpose, your life? And that's what I think a lot of people need. They just need structure. They need a system.
I just talked to 200 chiropractors, and I think the majority of them actually found their purpose. They're very passionate about healing and what they do, at least those that were at the convention. And so, but the problem is, you know, so they know their purpose. Most people don't. They already have their purpose. But what I had to make them clear to them is like, they're barely tapping into it, into that superpower, because they're just waiting for that insurance check of $40 to come in for the adjustment that they did. And I said, look, you guys are healers. Yeah. You deserve so much more. So what is it that you can add to your practice that will benefit your community? Which case-based practices? Who do you want to help? Because, and I gave him an example, like you probably don't have any Parkinson's patients or patients with mental illnesses or Alzheimer or dementia, right? They don't go to a chiropractor. But if there's people in your community with that you can help, there's many cash-based modalities you can incorporate. For example, a hydrogen inhalation system would be a great modality for anybody with, you know, Parkinson's, MS, post-stroke, and things like that. So it's like, you guys are tapping into your superpower, but let's get huge. Let's heal a lot more people, and let's not wait for that, you know, silly insurance check. You just gotta unleash that superpower. You're barely tapping into it.
You know, Dr. Mike, I'm with you, man.
See how passionate they get, and then it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's get a plan.
It's funny you brought up chiropractors. Like, so my wife has her favorite chiropractor, and then I have my favorite chiropractor, and we don't align. Mine, she'll work on me for 45 minutes to an hour. My wife, she wants to be in and out. I mean, she did go to chiropractic school and studied alongside of the human practitioners too, but I get it. She's got her own style. I got my own style. Mine will do some tissue work, some muscular work. That is what I want. I set a goal years ago that I have to make sure that my bare minimum, I guess, financial success is that I can move to a point in my life where no less than once a month, I'm getting a full body 90-minute massage minimum, and at least one chiropractic session a month. If I can't at least hit that threshold, I feel, so it took me a while to, you know, find a time in my life, find a time in my schedule, make sure financials are there. I'm a cash guy, dude. I don't even waste their time or my time with the insurances. Exactly. Yeah. My insurance that I pay for, my insurance that I pay for is not even for me. I'm helping other people because I don't even use it. So except for that time I collapsed my lung. But, you know, other than that, it's just like, you know what? Here, cash is king. And but now I also dabble with her chiropractor because I found out that he's got this cool new laser therapy technology. So I was like, great, I'm going to go in and hit him once in a while, maybe every other month, try out his modalities, right? Use that therapy. That's something he chose to invest in. Whereas my wife, she invested in something called shockwave therapy that she learned about when we were on a trip in South Africa. Yes. So now my chiropractor, that finally got approved for human use. So now she's got that machine. So like you're saying, what can we add that is going to help our patients? Like, for example, I've always wanted every chiropractor, for me personally, to always have a massage therapist either on staff or available to be booked, hopefully within, before or after the session, because I'm a geek about this stuff. It's going to help the adjustment be much more effective and long lasting.
Sure.
And my chiropractor finally did partner with a amazing wellness practitioner who's a massage therapist. So now I could book her right before my session. Double whammy. I'm so excited.
And it's a win-win for them too. They make money off each other. So,
yeah. But to your point, they're realizing there's more than just, and this is a terrible term, ladies and gentlemen, cracking the bones. You're not really cracking the bones. But anyway, there's more to life than just an adjustment. So it's exciting to see these entrepreneurs that are healthcare practitioners taking it to the next level. I wish I could see more MDs go learn about nutrition, just one subject, but just nutrition, understand how things are working in the body beyond that 1 hour class you got when you went to school for your MD. And I'm not trying
but
to
they don't have the time, right? Those are the ones that spend 5 minutes with you, and they now, all the private practices are basically, bought up by the local hospitals, who then are controlled by the insurance companies. So
yeah, all happened here. Yep, over the past 10 years.
So even if they wanted to, they're not going to be able to compete or make their income.
You'll be happy to hear this, though. A buddy of mine just helped me find a local MD who chose to exit the network because his practice did get acquired. Him and his other fellow co-owners, they got acquired a few years ago, and he's married to a friend of mine. And then after that, he realized this is not better. So he's leaving, going to start up a whole new practice, and he's actually studying functional medicine too. So he's looking
at and he's going to have to think cash based, because the local hospital and their previous practice, they're going to get the contracts, and he's going to be squeezed out. So he's going to have to really,
but he truly believes that
cash based clients.
Yeah. But I'm excited when I hear about people realizing, it's really exciting to see functional medicine taking root and trial and finally being proven and valid. And I'm not a practitioner. This is just a consumer because I've done enough research. You and I going down this biohacking route, like, ladies and gentlemen, look outside the drug world, please. This is treating a symptom with a pharmaceutical Band-Aid is not the answer, because that's all you're doing. And you're causing side effects and other problems. Like, take accountability and learn about this. That's what I love to push to people all the time.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mike, I've had a lot of blast today, man. I knew you and I would hit some hot mics here. The IZOD method is awesome. I love the structure. I love the format. And I'm glad we're able to bring it to the microphones today, because I guarantee you there's people who have heard this and it makes sense, because it's very clean. It's very effective. As a sales and marketing pro, that's what I look for with my companies and my brands I work with. My guys, simplify it, make it clean.
Well, maybe we got to talk about you marketing this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence. But that being said,
yes,
you've published how many books now?
8. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all? Okay. I got 1. All right. I'm like a runner up to you. So you got 8 books. You're a world record holder in swimming. You've got all these different businesses going on. One thing I like to ask my guest co-hosts when we bring a show to a close nowadays, and it took me a while to get here, and you'll appreciate this, it was always final words, something to leave behind. Then I realized, just like with the mindset piece over the years, was besides purpose, what is the legacy that we're leaving behind on this planet? And I realized that has now become something more important that I want to hear from my guest co-hosts, and I hope that my audience takes to heart. So everything you've accomplished and you continue to push for, like, is there a legacy message that you're at this stage of the game looking to leave behind, or at least put out there to the universe today?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, my superpower is that I really am helping people unleash their superpower, and I know how to do that because, again, all of people are not awake, right? They're just living a life, but not their life. So we need to wake them up. We need to see what their passion is and unleash those superpowers, not just step into it, because the world, quite frankly, needs all of our superpowers right now. And so, it's for people to really start using their common sense again. We've been told so many things. There's so much propaganda out there, but, just step back and go deep inside of yourself. and learn some basics. We didn't talk about those because, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about, but there's so many fundamentals that don't cost any money to upgrade that body and that mind of yours. And it's usually only when we dare to get out of that comfort zone that's where we find purpose out of our comfort zone. That's where we grow. That's where we can become extraordinary and unleash those superpowers. So, just take that moment, look in the mirror, ask yourself if you're living their passion. Ask yourself if you gotta get up in the morning or you have to get up in the morning, and ask yourself honestly if you're living that purpose. And if not, please do something about it. It's never too late. And if you don't know how to, just seek out some help and some guidance, and we'll push you in the right direction.
Well said, sir. Well, listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, something he just said there right at the end. Don't give up. Don't think that you cannot still find purpose in life. It does not matter what your age is. I just had a birthday last week. People are like, oh, do you feel a year older? No. Okay. It's just a year more of knowledge, a year more of growth, a year more of reminding myself that there is no end. Just keep going, just keep growing. And that is a lot of mindset, but that is a lot of that, what he just talked about. Maybe you got to find something or someone like Dr. Mike here to help you find that superpower, unleash it into the world. There's too much negativity nowadays. We need more positive, powerful people like Mike trying to help other people step into that same status, that same level of giving back something more bigger and better in this world today. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. Dr. Mike Van Thielen definitely did that today. So as a reminder to you again, you too could live the fuel. We'll talk to you guys again soon.